Have you ever felt that creative spark suddenly vanish, leaving you staring at a blank canvas or an empty page? You're not alone. What if I told you that creativity isn't just a random gift, but a divine connection that can be cultivated through specific spiritual practices? Throughout history, the most profound artists, writers, and visionaries have known something that modern society has nearly forgotten: that true creativity flows not just from the mind, but from something far greater. Today, I'm going to share 5 ancient rituals that can transform your creative process by aligning you with divine inspiration. These aren't just techniques, they're sacred pathways that have been used for centuries to tap into the universal creative force. Whether you're struggling with writer's block, feeling artistically stuck, or simply seeking deeper meaning in your creative pursuits, these rituals could be the breakthrough you've been searching for. Many of us have been taught that creativity is purely intellectual, a function of the brain. But what if the most powerful creative insights actually come from beyond ourselves? What if the ancients were right about divine inspiration being a real, accessible force? By the end of this video, you'll understand how to create sacred spaces and practices that invite this divine creativity into your daily life. Stay with me until the end, because the 5th ritual combines all the others and reveals a surprising truth about creativity that could completely transform how you experience your artistic and spiritual journey. Are you ready to unlock your spiritual creativity and channel divine inspiration like never before? Let's begin this sacred exploration together. Ritual 1. Sacred Morning Silence, the Divine Whisper. Practice. In our constantly connected world, silence has become a rare commodity. Yet it's in this very silence that divine inspiration often speaks to us. The ancient mystics across traditions, from Buddhist monks to Christian contemplatives, understood that the quiet hours before dawn hold special creative potency. This is your first gateway to spiritual creativity. The sacred morning silence ritual begins with waking up 30 minutes before your usual time. I know this might sound challenging, especially if you're already struggling with sleep, but there's something truly magical about those moments when the world is still dark and quiet. This time has been called the Hour of God, or Brahma Muhurta, in ancient traditions, because the veil between our conscious mind and divine inspiration is thinnest. When you first wake up, resist the urge to check your phone or turn on lights. Instead, sit upright in bed or in a comfortable chair and simply breathe. Allow yourself to exist in this liminal space between sleep and wakefulness. This is where creativity often flows most naturally, when your analytical mind hasn't yet taken control of your thoughts. As you sit in silence, place one hand over your heart and set an intention to receive creative guidance. You might be surprised to discover that your most profound ideas don't come from forcing thoughts, but from receptivity, from listening rather than thinking. Many great artists and writers throughout history have attributed their best work to ideas that seem to arrive fully formed during these quiet morning moments. What makes this ritual particularly powerful is its cumulative effect. The first few days you might feel restless or doubtful, but by the end of a week, you'll likely notice subtle impressions, images, or ideas beginning to filter through during these silent sessions. Are you willing to try this for just 7 days to see what divine whispers might be waiting for you in the silence? Some people find it helpful to keep a special notebook beside their bed, what I call a divine inspiration journal, where you can immediately record any insights that come during this practice. Don't edit or judge what comes through. Simply capture it. Over time, you'll begin to recognize patterns and messages that may surprise you with their wisdom and creativity. Remember, this isn't about forcing creativity or pressuring yourself to receive something profound. The paradox of divine inspiration is that it often flows most freely when we release our grip on outcomes. Your only job is to create the space and show up with openness. The divine will do the rest, in its own time and way. Ritual 2. The Sacred Bath, Cleansing. Your creative channels. Water has been used in spiritual purification rituals across cultures for thousands of years. From baptism to mikvah to ritual bathing in the Ganges, There's a universal understanding that water doesn't just cleanse the physical body, it purifies our spiritual channels as well. This second ritual harnesses this ancient wisdom to clear creative blockages. The sacred bath ritual transforms an ordinary shower or bath into a powerful creative reset. Begin by setting a clear intention to release any creative blocks or doubts that have been holding you back. As you prepare your bath, add natural elements that speak to your senses. Perhaps a few drops of lavender or rosemary essential oil, a handful of sea salt, or even rose petals if you're feeling particularly ceremonial. Before entering the water, stand for a moment and take 3 deep breaths, visualizing the water as not just physical H2O, but as living creative energy. As you immerse yourself, imagine that each part of your body that touches the water is being cleared of creative stagnation. Pay special attention to your throat, heart, and the crown of your head, centers traditionally associated with expression, passion, and divine connection. Many viewers have shared with me that they experienced unexpected creative breakthroughs during this ritual. One woman who had been unable to complete her novel for over 2 years suddenly visualized the perfect ending while practicing this ritual bath. Another found the courage to share his poetry publicly after years of keeping it private. What creative blocks might be dissolved through this simple yet profound practice in your life? The key to making this ritual effective is bringing your full presence to it. Rather than letting your mind wander to your to-do list or tomorrow's challenges, keep gently returning to the sensation of the water and your intention for creative renewal. You might find it helpful to speak a simple phrase or mantra as the water flows over you, such as, "I am open to divine inspiration," or "Creative energy flows freely through me now." After your sacred bath, resist the urge to immediately jump back into technology or noise. Allow yourself at least 5 minutes to sit in the refreshed state this ritual creates. This is often when the most surprising inspirations arrive, in that open, receptive space just after purification. Have your divine inspiration journal nearby to capture any insights. This ritual is especially powerful when practiced weekly, perhaps every Sunday evening as you prepare for a new week of creative endeavors. Over time, you'll likely notice that creative blocks dissolve more quickly and divine inspiration flows more consistently as your energy channels remain clear. Let's continue with the next sections of the main content. Ritual 3. Nature Communion. The divine artist's walk. Nature has been the primary source of inspiration for countless artists, poets, and visionaries throughout human history. There's a reason why Thoreau retreated to Walden Pond, why Monet created his garden at Giverny, and why indigenous traditions worldwide consider nature the ultimate teacher. This third ritual reconnects you with the original creative force, the divine as expressed through the natural world. The Nature Communion ritual begins with setting aside at least 30 minutes to be in nature without distractions. This means leaving your phone behind or, at minimum, switching it to airplane mode. Choose a location that calls to you. It doesn't need to be remote wilderness. Even a small urban park or your own backyard can serve as sacred ground for this practice. As you enter your chosen natural space, pause at the threshold and silently ask permission to receive inspiration. This small act of reverence sets a tone of receptivity rather than entitlement. Then begin walking slowly, much more slowly than your normal pace. This deliberate slowing down is essential for shifting from your analytical mind to your intuitive, receptive awareness. The core practice is simple yet profound. Use all 5 senses intentionally as you move through nature. Notice the interplay of light and shadow, the infinite shades of green, the textures of bark and stone. Listen beyond the obvious sounds to the subtle symphony that's always playing. Touch the rough and smooth surfaces you encounter. Breathe in the scents of soil and plants. If appropriate, taste wild berries or herbs, only if you're absolutely certain they're safe. What makes this ritual powerful for spiritual creativity is that you're not just observing nature, you're communing with it, recognizing it as alive and intelligent. Many creative breakthroughs come when we realize we're not separate from nature, but part of its ongoing creative expression. Have you ever noticed how solutions to creative challenges often come when you stop forcing them and simply immerse yourself in the natural world? Carry your divine inspiration journal with you during this ritual. When something catches your attention, perhaps the pattern of lichen on a rock or the way light filters through leaves, pause completely. Breathe with that moment. Ask silently, "What are you showing me?" Then record whatever impressions arise, whether they seem immediately relevant to your creative work or not. Often, the connections reveal themselves later. One of my viewers practiced this ritual faithfully for a month and reported that her painting style transformed completely. "I stopped painting what things looked like," she wrote, "and started painting the energy I felt moving through them during my nature walks." Another found that solutions to complex design problems would spontaneously appear while watching the patterns of birds in flight. The beauty of this ritual is that nature is always changing: the light, the seasons, the weather. So each practice offers fresh inspiration. Even visiting the same location repeatedly will reveal new aspects of divine creativity, expressing through the natural world. Consider making this a weekly appointment with the ultimate creative mentor. Ritual 4. Sacred Sound. Vibrations that awaken. Divine creativity. Sound has been used as a doorway to divine realms in virtually every spiritual tradition. From Gregorian chants to Tibetan singing bowls, from Sufi qawwali to Native American drumming, humans have long understood that certain sounds can shift our consciousness and open channels to inspiration. This fourth ritual harnesses the power of sacred sound to unlock your spiritual creativity. The sacred sound ritual doesn't require musical talent or special instruments, though you can certainly incorporate those if you have them. Begin by finding a quiet space where you won't be disturbed for at least 15 minutes. Sit comfortably with your spine relatively straight to allow energy to flow freely. Start with 3 deep breaths to center yourself, then close your eyes and listen to the existing soundscape around you. This brief attunement to ambient sound prepares your awareness for deeper listening. Now you have several options for working with sacred sound. You can chant, tone a single note, play an instrument, listen to specifically chosen music, or work with recorded sound tools like singing bowls or binaural beats. If you choose to use your own voice, which carries unique power because it's created by your own body, start with the simplest approach: sustained vowel sounds. The sound ah, as in father, opens the heart center. Oo, as in moon, centers the mind. Creates vibration that can be felt throughout the body. Simply sustain each sound for several full breaths, noticing the vibration in your body and any shifts in your awareness. Many people report that creativity flows most easily after working with sacred sound because the vibrations literally reorganize our energetic field. One composer who was experiencing a prolonged creative block told me that after 21 days of this ritual, melodies began flowing again, but with a depth and originality he hadn't experienced before. Could just 15 minutes of sacred sound shift your creative energy from stagnation to flow? What makes this ritual particularly effective for channeling divine inspiration is the way sound can bypass our analytical mind. When fully immersed in sacred sound, whether creating or listening, we often enter a theta brainwave state similar to deep meditation or the hypnagogic state between waking and sleeping. In this receptive state, inspiration can flow unimpeded by self-criticism or logical constraints. After your sound session, remain in silence for at least 5 minutes, allowing whatever impressions, images, or ideas that arise to come without judgment. Have your divine inspiration journal ready to record these insights. You may be surprised at how different these inspirations feel from your usual thoughts, often more symbolic, holistic, or unexpected. This ritual becomes increasingly powerful with regular practice. Many find that a daily sound session of even just 5-10 minutes creates a cumulative opening to divine creativity. The more frequently you enter this sound-induced receptive state, the more easily you can access it even during your active creative work. Ritual 5. The Sacred Creative Altar, your portal to divine inspiration. Throughout history, humans have created sacred spaces to honor the invisible forces that guide and inspire us. From elaborate temples to simple household shrines, these dedicated spaces act as bridges between the mundane and the divine. This fifth ritual, perhaps the most powerful of all, involves creating your own creative altar that serves as a permanent portal for divine inspiration. The sacred creative altar ritual begins with selecting a location in your home or workspace that can remain undisturbed. Even a small corner, shelf, or portion of a desk can serve this purpose. What matters is that this space is reserved solely for connecting with your creative source. This physical dedication reflects your inner commitment to honoring creativity as a sacred gift rather than merely a practical skill. Start by cleansing the space, physically cleaning it, and energetically clearing it with sound, ringing a bell, smoke, burning sage or incense, or simply by setting a clear intention. Then mindfully gather objects that represent four essential aspects of divine creativity: inspiration, manifestation, ancestral wisdom, and gratitude. For inspiration, include something that represents your creative vision or aspiration, perhaps an image of work you admire, a symbol of your creative field, or an object from nature that evokes wonder. For manifestation, add a tool of your craft, a pen, paintbrush, musical instrument, or any implement you use to bring ideas into form. For ancestral wisdom, incorporate something that connects you to the lineage of creators who came before you, perhaps a book by a mentor, a family heirloom, or a symbol from a tradition that inspires you. Finally, for gratitude, include an offering bowl or space where you can regularly place fresh flowers, special stones, or other small gifts acknowledging the divine source of creativity. What transforms this from a collection of meaningful objects into a true portal for divine inspiration is your relationship with it. Begin each creative session by spending a few moments at your altar, lighting a candle or incense if you wish, and setting an intention to receive guidance. End each session with gratitude, acknowledging any inspirations you received, regardless of how your work progressed. One writer who created such an altar shared that it completely transformed her relationship with challenging projects. "Before, when I hit a roadblock, I'd push harder or give up," she explained. "Now I go to my altar, light the candle, and wait. Within minutes, I feel a shift, like I've plugged back into the source. The solutions come, but not from my striving. They come through me." What might change in your creative process if you approached it as a sacred collaboration rather than a solo effort? This fifth ritual powerfully integrates the previous four. It provides the sacred silence needed to hear divine whispers, creates a space for purification like the sacred bath, brings elements of nature into your creative process, and can incorporate sound through bells, chimes, or music. It serves as a daily reminder that creativity isn't something you produce through effort alone, but a gift you receive by making yourself available to something greater. Many who establish creative altars report synchronicities increasing in their lives, finding just the right reference, connecting with the perfect collaborator, or receiving unexpected opportunities. This isn't magical thinking, but a natural outcome of living with awareness of the interconnected web of creativity that's always available when we attune to it. Your altar will evolve over time, reflecting your growing relationship with divine inspiration. Some items may be permanent fixtures, while others might change with the seasons, your projects, or as new inspirations guide you. This living quality keeps the portal fresh and vibrant. Now that I've shared these 5 powerful rituals, let's discuss how to integrate them effectively into your life to maximize their impact on your spiritual creativity. These practical steps will help you establish a sustainable practice that invites divine inspiration to become your constant companion. First, start small but remain consistent. Rather than trying to implement all 5 rituals at once, begin with the one that resonates most strongly with you. Practice it daily for at least 2 weeks before adding another. Consistency creates energetic pathways that make receiving divine inspiration increasingly effortless over time. Even 5 minutes of sacred silence each morning is more powerful than an hour-long practice done sporadically. Create clear boundaries around your ritual time. Inform family members or housemates about your practice schedule and ask for their support in maintaining the sanctity of these periods. Turn off notifications on your devices or, better yet, keep them in another room entirely. These boundaries signal to both your unconscious mind and the divine that you're serious about creating space for inspiration. Document your journey meticulously in your divine inspiration journal. Record not only the creative insights that come during your rituals, but also subtle changes in your awareness, emotions, and experiences throughout the day. Many people discover that divine inspiration doesn't always arrive during the ritual itself, but emerges later while engaged in mundane activities, a phenomenon that becomes apparent only through consistent journaling. Be patient with what I call the creative incubation period. Unlike productivity techniques that promise immediate results, these spiritual rituals work more like planting seeds. Some inspirations will bloom quickly, while others require time to germinate beneath the surface of your conscious awareness. Trust this natural timing rather than forcing outcomes. As one musician told me, the melodies that came after months of my sound ritual were far more powerful than anything I could have created through effort alone. Adapt these rituals to honor your personal spiritual beliefs and cultural background. While I've presented these practices in a universally accessible way, they can be enriched by incorporating elements from your own tradition. If you're Christian, you might include prayers to the Holy Spirit, traditionally associated with divine inspiration. If you follow an earth-based path, you might align your practices with moon phases or seasonal changes. This personalization deepens your connection and honors the unique way divine creativity wants to express through you. Create accountability through community. Share your commitment to these practices with at least one supportive person, or consider finding others interested in developing their spiritual creativity. You might establish a monthly sharing circle where you can discuss insights and challenges, or simply check in weekly with a creative ally. This social reinforcement helps maintain your practice during periods when inspiration seems distant. Pay attention to resistance and work with it compassionately. When you commit to these rituals, you may encounter internal obstacles, sudden busyness, doubts, or even physical discomfort during practices. Rather than seeing these as failures, recognize them as signals that you're disrupting old patterns and creating new channels for divine inspiration. Simply notice the resistance without judgment and gently return to your practice. Implement what I call inspiration bridges, small transitional practices that help you carry the receptive state from your rituals into your active creative work. This might be as simple as lighting the same candle you use at your altar when you begin working, playing a specific piece of music, or taking 3 conscious breaths before opening your creative project. These bridges maintain the connection to divine inspiration, even as you engage your technical skills and analytical thinking. As we draw our exploration to a close, I want you to remember that these 5 rituals, sacred morning silence, the sacred bath, nature communion, sacred sound, and the sacred creative altar, are not just techniques, but invitations to a profound relationship with the source of all creativity. The ancient wisdom traditions understood what modern society often forgets. Our greatest creative works don't come from us, but through us. Look back across human history at the most enduring creative expressions, from the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel to the verses of Rumi, from Beethoven's symphonies to the intricate mandalas of Tibetan monks. The creators themselves often described feeling like vessels or channels rather than the originators of their work. Michelangelo famously said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free." This is the essence of spiritual creativity, recognizing that our role is not to force creation, but to listen deeply and allow divine inspiration to flow through us. What might change in your creative life if you approached each day not with the pressure to produce, but with the openness to receive? How might your work transform if you viewed creativity not as a talent to develop, but as a relationship to nurture? These are the questions that have the power to shift not just what you create, but who you become through the creative process. Remember that divine inspiration doesn't always arrive as dramatic revelation. More often it comes as subtle nudges, quiet insights, or simply a sense of ease and flow in your work. By establishing these 5 rituals as regular practices, you're creating optimal conditions for these gentle whispers to be heard above the noise of daily life. I'd love to hear which of these rituals resonates most strongly with you, or if you have your own practices for connecting with divine inspiration. Share your experiences in the comments below. Your insight might be exactly what another creative soul needs to hear today. After all, when we share our spiritual creative journeys, we become way showers for one another, creating a community of inspired creators. If you found value in these ancient practices, please give this video a thumbs up so others seeking divine inspiration can discover it too. And if you're committed to developing your spiritual creativity, consider subscribing to this channel where we explore the sacred dimensions of creative expression every week. Before you go, I want to leave you with one final thought. In ancient traditions, creativity was never considered a mere hobby or even a profession. It was understood as a form of devotion, a way of participating in the ongoing creation of the world. When you create from this place of connection to something greater than yourself, your work becomes not just personally fulfilling, but healing and transformative for all who encounter it. The world needs your unique creative expression now more than ever. Not the work you force through willpower and strain, but the inspired creations that flow through you when you make yourself available to divine guidance. Through these 5 rituals, you have the tools to unlock that sacred potential within you. The only question that remains is, are you ready to receive the gifts that await? Thank you for journeying with me through these sacred practices. Until next time, may divine inspiration flow abundantly through all your creative endeavors.